everybody. Thank you for watching my video. Today I am taking my client who's a natural level 2-3 to as blonde as we can get. She always requests that when she comes in. Get me as blonde as you can, Jen. So I'm using 30 volume with the Bottle Blonde Lightener from Evo. And I'm starting at the nape and I'm going to work my way up. I'm not teasing any of these weaves. I am just going for it and I'm just gonna weave and put as many foils as I can into her. And then at the end, you'll see that I did tone her. I did a root smudge and a toner to kind of soften it a bit. Because her hair is so dark, the highlights will naturally come out pretty warm. You'll see later in the video once the foils are out. And so I just, I want to be as gentle as possible, but I also want to get her as light as possible. And so, yeah, I always start out with 30 volume on dark hair. And then I slowly, every time I refresh my bowl, I'll increase it a little bit with 40 volume. So I don't go up to 40 volume, but I'll go to like 35. So I'll basically, her whole back of her head will be 30 volume. And then by the time I get to the front, I've moved up to 35 volume. I like to do that. Some people like to just stay with the same volume the whole time, but I'm on a time crunch. I need to like get that hair moving as fast as possible because I have other clients coming in. So I feel like the 35 volume really pushes it. And her hair is really, really healthy. So I never worry about it getting too damaged. Some of the foils, I pull the hair, I cover the hair completely because it just really needs it. But some of the hair that's already been processed and is really light blonde already, I'll just leave out. So you'll see that throughout the video. I just kind of like, it's like a case by case thing. I'll just look at the hair, analyze it. It looks pretty good. I think I can put lightener over it again. Or yeah, if it looks pretty like blown out and blonde enough, I will leave it alone and leave it out of the foil. But yeah, so I put some highlights around the nape. And then I'm just working my way up on the right side first and doing diagonal weaves. I don't do any slices on her at all. I wanted it to be really heavily blonde, but also really soft too, because her hair's so dark as it grows out. I want there to be a little bit of softness as it grows out. But she hasn't had her hair done in a while. I think normally we do partials on her, so I suggested we do a full just because the back was so grown out. Like look how much new growth she has. It's probably a good 5 inches, 6 inches maybe. So I'm glad we did it because the final result, she looks very, very blonde. And I'm glad we did a full this time around. But yeah, now I'm going up on the left side of her head and just taking fine weaves. I like to weave really close to the scalp, especially if I'm blonding someone out a lot. I feel like that gets like the most impact. And yeah, just really saturating the hair too. That is so key, especially with hair this dark. You just have to saturate it. Like I take like a good amount of time just making sure there's plenty of lightener on it and just smudging it in with my brush because you don't want any spotting in this kind of hair because it'll show up so easily. I love the Bottle Blonde Lightener from Evo. I've been using it just like a few months now, and I notice how clean the blonde is when I take the foils out. I am just always so amazed how clean and well lifted the hair is. It's just an amazing lightener. I feel like it's like all I'm going to use from now on. So once I get to the top of her head, I left a little triangle right at the crown where the two sides meet. And I'm just taking that little point there and weaving that out. And then I'm going to start into her mohawk section on the top. I really love doing mohawk sections just for people who really, really want a close blonde. Not so much for balayage, but like, you know, if someone wants a full head of highlights and just wants the most amount of impact blonde, I love doing a mohawk. But you got to be careful because sometimes it'll look really stripy if you're not careful. So I do just really, really fine weaves on top, just to avoid from it looking too stripy. I mean, I also do use a root shadow as well to soften it, so that helps too. But yeah, I think just taking really, really fine weaves, fine sections all through the top, it looks so beautiful. Some people kind of like the chunky look though. That's, you know, kind of in right now, like the 90s chunky highlights. Sometimes I get requests for that, which I find kind of weird. But hey, it's your hair, you know. I'm just going through her crown, and I'm not using my board once I get to the top, just because it feels a little awkward. So I love using the board just because it adds some sturdiness to doing the highlights, and I feel like it helps me saturate the hair better because I have that added resistance there, pressure to like press the product in. But since I'm going through, I feel like I have that kind of sturdiness with the foils underneath. So I'm just making sure I just saturate the heck out of it. And feathering up. I like to feather up, even though with her hair, I noticed when I took the foils out, it did get a little orangey, a little warm at the root, but that's when the root shadow comes in handy, and that will soften that and blend it out. I think the key with her hair is just taking really fine sections. And again, I know I think I keep repeating myself, but fine sections and very fine weaves. Like here I am getting very, very close to her face. So I want the weaves to be very, very natural and soft. So I'm making sure that the sections are very fine and woven very close to the scalp. So as I'm getting closer to the face, I like to, you know, gauge how many foils am I going to have around her face. And I kind of want to give her a little bit of a bright money piece since she likes to be so blonde. So what I'm doing is I think I have like maybe 3 or 4 foils left for the face. But as I get closer, the last 2 foils that I put in are slices. And that just gives a little bit more of an impact, a little bit more of a variation in brightness around the face. I think these couple ones here are all woven, but you'll see the last 2 that I put in are slices, but very, very fine slices. She has a little bit of a widow's peak as well. So what I like to do with widow's peaks is I'll take just that little point there and I'll just weave it very finely and highlight that, because you can really tell, especially when they pull their hair back, if it's not highlighted, it's gonna look a little strange. So here is her little widow's peak, and yeah, I'm just taking a really fine weave of that and highlighting that. Also around her face, the little point here next to her ear, I don't know what that's called, but it's that very, very fine point there. I take that little triangle in the corner, baby fine that, baby weave that area. I do 2 baby weaves around the face, and then I get back into my regular pattern of weaving. But around the face, you have to be very delicate and very thoughtful about where you're placing it and your weaves, because that's like the first thing that they're going to see. And you know, toning helps, doing a little root tap helps for sure, if it's a little too much. But I just think around the face, you have to be very, very thorough and thoughtful, because that's just the most important part. So I'm just going in diagonal sections, weaving, same as I've been doing on the whole head, and the same on the other side. So here's Evelyn completely foiled up, and now I'm creating, I decided to balayage all the hair that was left out of the foils. So I'm using O&M's clay lightener, and I made 35 volume with that. And I'm just going in and taking sections starting in the back and just painting on, just tipping out and painting on the clay lightener, just to brighten her old highlights a bit and refreshing it. And this just adds more variation and dimension in her hair. I like to, when I do hand painting, I like to start at the bottom and really saturate the bottom, and then just kind of work my way up with the paint, with the brush. The board really helps too, to help really get it saturated. That's the key with hand painting, in my opinion, is saturation, and just blend. But I never used to do tip outs, and then I would look back at my work and be like, I think it could have been a little bit more variated or a little bit lighter. And then I started doing tip outs and just experimenting with different ways of doing tip outs, and it really does make a difference. It's super subtle, especially if they're already blonde, but it does make a huge difference. So I really do try to tip out all of my clients from now on. Even if it's only on for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it helps, it kind of helps in a way reset the hair, and it'll lift the old toner from the last appointment, and then it gives you a fresh new canvas to put on new toner. I divided the mohawk in half and decided to do 2 sections because, you know, there's all this hair on top that didn't get tipped out. So I just kind of analyze and see, like, where do I want these highlights to really hit and pop. And yeah. So she processed, I mean, these foils were on for a while because her hair is so dark. I'd say it took me about an hour or so to do everything. And now I'm going in with the root smudge. I used Evo Hueverse. I used 8.81 with like a splash of 5 because I wanted to use 7, but I didn't have 7. So I just used like a splash of 5 just to darken it a tad with 6.5 volume, the cream from Evo. So I'm just starting in the back, going in and just tapping her roots. This will just blend out the line because yes, her roots did come out. I don't know if you can see very well, but her roots did come out a little bit orangey, but that's totally normal. She has dark hair, so that happens, you know? And so that's why the root smudge is really important. It helps kind of blend out that brassiness, that oranginess, and softens the root. So I'm just going in, going diagonally and tapping away. And I'm leaving out the face framing because that is the area that grabs color the fastest. So I decided to leave the face framing section out until like the last 2 minutes of her processing for the toner. And I didn't root tap her hairline because it looked pretty blended to me, so I just left it alone and just mainly root tapped the interior of her hair. So I left that on for about, well, I'm going in now. Whoops. Now I'm going back in and doing the all over toner. So after the root smudge is in, going in with the bottle and just getting all that toner in. I think my formula for this was, I used all 10s. I used 10.1, 10.37, and 10.6. So there's a little bit of gold in there, a little bit of ash, a little bit of violet, just to help give it a really clean yet bright, natural looking blonde. And that's with the 6.5 volume liquid activator. And I'm not wearing gloves. Why am I not wearing gloves? I don't know. I should have been wearing gloves. That's silly of me. I think sometimes when you do these long appointments, you just get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm just going to put the toner on and not bother with all the other stuff. I don't know. I mean, that's just real life in the salon. She was my last client of the day. I was tired and, I'm like, oh, I'm just being real. And plus the toner doesn't bother my skin at all. I always wear gloves when I do permanent color or bleach, but toners, I mean, they're so light and they don't irritate me at all. So I like to really feel the color. So here I am going in to her hairline or the face framing, and this was like the last 2 minutes of processing. It's usually for the Evo toners, it's about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. I'll leave it on. And yeah, the last couple minutes, I'm just going in and getting her hairline and just leaving that on for like a minute or two. And I rinsed her out really well. I think I used Afterworld Organics Hair Glow, which is one of my favorites. And blowing her out and getting her hair nice and curled. I love using the hair prep spray from Inner Sense before I curl hair. It just has the best hold. It makes the hair so soft. It doesn't feel crunchy. I even use it on people with fine hair that can't hold a curl, and it works really well on them. And yeah, I loved how her hair came out. Looks so natural, so pretty. The roots are nice and soft. The color just, I mean, and also doing those tip outs. She's so cute. Also doing those tip outs really makes such a difference. She's just, I just love her hair. As dark as it is, it always comes out so great. Here's just a little rundown of what I used on her and my formulas, using all Evo Hueverse, except for the clay lightener. I did use O&M for that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my video. Please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel for more hair videos. Bye.